Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Katie and today it's another dragon in the form of HIMI Horoscope. Now I'm aware I have a few of these to catch up on and I am in the process of doing that right now, but we'll pick up from where we left off and today's constellation is Virgo. The background colour I decided to use combines the purple and the burgundy from the HIMI gouache. And the reason being, it just reminds me of those autumnal sunsets you get at that time of year, especially with those nights drawing in. I thought that would be an absolutely complementary colour as well for the colour I use on the Virgo dragon. With that being said, let's talk about the dragon, shall we? So, Virgo, I always thought was the Virgin. However, after having a little poke around on Wikipedia, I found that it was more heavily associated with wheat and harvest, which is why I decided to give her quite a golden colour, but not an over-the-top fiery gold, more of an earthy golden colour, I guess like wheat. I decided to keep the features nice and soft on this one, and I'm having her clutching a wheat sheaf, I guess. Now, once I'd established the main form of the dragon's body, I went and filled in the centre of that circle with the rest of those gorgeous sunset colours I decided to use. Following on from that, it was time to do the wings, and I went in there with a lighter colour. Reason being is I just wanted those wings to stand out a little bit more from the dragon's body. It means when it comes to adding that line work, it won't get too complicated, and I just kind of like the balance of it as well. A lot of my dragons tend to be two-tone in one way or another, whereas this one not so much on the body, so I wanted that represented in the wings. The same colour is also used on the horns and the surrounding ridges around the dragon's face. So I've never painted a wheat sheaf before, and yeah, that was a bit of a challenge. I think maybe I could have made it splay out a little bit more, but then it would have made all the composition of the picture look a little bit off. So I decided to go in there with a more muted version of this golden colour and then work on top of it once it was dry with those gorgeous details. So if any of you are new to my channel and watching this, you might be wondering what's a HIMI horoscope. Well, at the beginning of the year, I thought it would be pretty cool to turn each symbol from the zodiac into a dragon. I kind of always liked horoscopes and the zodiac symbols, and I don't personally massively follow it or adhere to what a monthly or a weekly forecast would say, but I still find it interesting nonetheless. I thought that it would be something fun to do every month, aside from the past two where I've not been too very good with my schedule, I guess. But up until August time, I was doing one every month, and I just thought it would be a really fun way to paint a dragon and use these HIMI gouache paints. Now, I quite like using the HIMI gouache paints. I quite like how easy they are to dip into, and they mix up quite nicely. They aren't, in my opinion, as nice to use as the Nickel poster colours. However, they're expensive and I can't afford to use them every picture, I'm afraid. With that being said though, the HIMI paints are absolutely ideal and they last ages as well. I've had mine for 12 months now and it's still going strong. They've dried up a couple of times, but I've found that by adding a few drops of water and getting a palette knife, you can bring them back to life again. I know some artists out there prefer to let them dry out and I suppose use them like you would with a watercolour pan. However, because I like to apply them quite thickly, I need them in their liquid jelly format, so I try my best to keep them as they are. For my personal opinion, when they're watered down, I don't like the coverage. It just doesn't seem very even, and I don't know, it doesn't sit right. If I wanted a watered down look, I'd use watercolours, but that I've mentioned this before. Anyway, let's get back to the dragon, shall we? So I've decided to add some highlights to those wings, again just creating some more form there, and you'll notice as well that I've added the scale details in, and I've just speckled that on with the brush using a number of tones from that colour palette used on the dragon. I also went round and added an outline on the dragon's body, and I've also started to add some hatching details for the feathers. Although I am a glutton for punishment, and I do end up going around the majority of this again in a darker tone, just purely because I actually think it looked better and it made it stand out a lot more from the background. I must admit, doing the outlines, as stressful as it can be, is one of my favourite parts of painting these dragons. I usually find the first bit really difficult because the colours are so flat and everything is taking shape, and well, before it starts taking shape it's just a bunch of random shapes, and once them details and tonal areas are added, it's just an absolute pleasure to start adding that line work on top of it, because I start seeing the dragon I'd got in my imagination for this. Do any of you guys go through several phases of creating a piece before you actually start being happy with it? Sometimes it really is about perseverance and focusing on the end game with it, and again the line detail for me is when it starts pulling together. Are you guys on the same boat with that, or are there at different stages of a painting where you think, right, we're there, this is coming out just how I imagined it? Let me know in the comments below. I think that's really interesting to hear how you guys sort of have a thought process behind your work. Now obviously this dragon's got its eyes closed, but I am terrible for painting the eyes in last, and sometimes I have to add them in early because they do kind of look a bit freaky, but I like to add them in last. It's just me being a bit weird, I guess. Now I'm really happy with how this came out, and once I'd had that detail onto the wheat sheaf, I actually really quite liked it, and it was just simple mark making just to get that effect. I decided to add a little tie around the middle just so it made a little bit more sense visually, and as well, to make our Virgo dragon that little bit more wheaty, I added some sprigs of wheat detail to her tail and gave her a few wheaty whiskers as well, and I think that is so cute and adorable. And although this is a sunset colour scheme, it's sort of borderline twilight, so I'm totally justified by flicking some stars on there with an overloaded paintbrush. And of course you can see the plate I use as a template. I hope you lovely lot have enjoyed today's video. There should be a playlist on your screen now with some more gorgeous dragons, and I'm sure there's a video on screen right now that you'll enjoy watching too. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one. Bye!